Hi everyone. So this is the second video. We pretty much finished the syllabus. I just wanted to note that under other guidelines for success, there's attendance, which goes over participation and attendance, which is essentially timeliness and an effort. And then also academic integrity policy, any accommodations, non-discrimination, sexual harassment, pronoun usage, and of course, your basic physical and mental health needs. If you are experiencing any kinds of needs throughout the course that involve any of this, please feel free to use the resources that are there or to reach out to me, okay? All right, so I'm going to start by going over these slides here, which are essentially like, what is web content? Let's see if I can do the slideshow here. I can't tell if you can see me or not. Sometimes, it's unclear as to what's going on here with the technologies. Okay, so I'm going to just do it this way. What is web content? This is a good question. And if you will get there, but if you look on the Substack that I have created, which I'm in the process of building, I'm going to be building it at the same time that you are building your Substacks. So we will be working on creating our blogs simultaneously, okay? But you can look at my Substack about, and I immediately kind of start talking about what does it mean to write for the web and what are we doing here, okay? Essentially, writing for the web is a huge statement that encompasses the majority of the content that you will find and interact with on a regular basis as a user and as a content creator. There are different versions of what we call the web, and you are meant to read this article, which we'll go over that for you. But just to briefly kind of discuss, today's what we call the World Wide Web is a network of interconnected communities, and with as many different interests and niches and voices as you could possibly imagine. The web has changed the way that media and information is created, disseminated, and consumed. And it's also increased the ability for communities to communicate and connect. So the way that, media creation used to work was that you had journalists, you had editors, you had book editors, you had video and broadcast editors, TV, film. That's all exploded, right? Anyone can create any content at any time and upload it in a bajillion different kinds of ways and can speak to so many audiences, like it's impossible to even think of, right? You can think of an audience and think of someone, think of an interest, and you will find other people who are interested in the same things that you are, right? So the way that we now communicate and connect virtually is through content. So what was Web 1.0? I'm not going to dive too deeply into it, but basically Web 1.0 is sort of like the earliest form of the internet. And this web version, right, is sometimes called the read-only web because there was no interactivity, right? So there was no commenting, there was no liking, you couldn't repost or anything like that. It was basically just, you could only read what was put up and forward. So like if you've ever when you go to a website and there's just the website page and you can't click on anything or move anything or connect with it, that would be sort of 1.0. So it says here, take a real world dictionary, digitize everything in it, and make it accessible to people online to look at, but not be able to react to it, boom, that's Web 1.0. Okay. We are working in Web 2.0. Web 3.0 is, we're not really going to engage in that because we're not there yet. I'll probably start teaching that like next year, but that's where we start talking about AI and other types of interfaces. We're still working in Web 2.0. And that is many people creating even more content for a growing audience, right? So you had the static websites, you had sort of an online, enormous encyclopedia, dictionary, whatever you could find. Now we're looking at many people, whoever has access to the internet, essentially has the ability to create content and to target various audiences with that particular content. So Web 2.0 focuses on participating and contributing, and it emphasizes user-generated content. We are the users, and we are generating content, and we are trying to make it as easy as possible for people to get to our content, interact with it, understand it, have it be compatible with as many different devices as you possibly can, so that if you have, something you want to show people, you can see it on your phone, and you can see it on your iPad, and you can see it on the computer, and you can see it everywhere, right? And so Web 2.0 is known as the participative social web. Okay, so it's like a better version of Web 1.0. That's where we're going to be focusing, okay? Some of the characteristics of Web 2.0 is that it encourages self-usage and allows forms of interaction like podcasting, social media, tagging, blogging, commenting, curating with RSS feeds, social networking, web voting, and it's used by society at large, and it's not limited to specific communities. So that's very important, right? Like there is open access. People can try to hide, different types of content, but almost inevitably, and we've seen this over and over again, content will get out, and it's going to be available to society at large through these different forms of interaction. So web content, right? If the characteristics of Web 2.0 include, right? And Web 2.0 is this interactive system and network, right? So if the characteristics of that include podcasting, blogging, social media, etc., then the content of that is what makes up and makes visible those characteristics, right? So we can say the characteristic of Web 2.0 includes podcasting as sort of like a genre or a thing, but then you actually have to have the podcasts themselves, right, in order to create the podcasting, right? So that's what content is. And it's basically every single thing that is created by a user that is on the web, that is available to be seen and interacted with. And so here's like a list of common what we would call content: articles, blog posts, lists, reviews, quizzes, photos, videos, case studies, any website content, infographics, ebooks. It goes on and on, right? And you could look here if you want to see more and different kinds of content. So I'm curious about, what web content have you interacted with? Just think about it. If we start thinking about, okay, these are the characteristics of Web 2.0, what web content have I interacted with throughout my life, right? Who is creating that content? How am I getting it? Those are deeper issues, which we're not necessarily diving into in this class because we're just creating it. But it's important to think about who's creating that content, where's it coming from, how am I getting it, right? And then what content have you created? If you have created a social media post at all, or even just an account, then you are a content creator. Okay, you may not be a YouTuber with 1 million, viewers, but you have created some form of content that lives on the web. Okay, so creating web content is not complicated and it's not hard, right? And we do it all day long. I'm doing it right now by taking this video and then uploading it to YouTube. I am now creating web content, right, for you. But thinking about what kind of content and where and who is going to receive it and what audience is going to receive it, that's a different question. And that's where there is strategy and skill and understanding these 3 sort of main purposes, which is message, audience, and persona. And in another video, I'm going to talk to you about message, audience, and persona, and we'll kind of dive into what that means and how you might start to consider your message, audience, and persona for your own blog for this class, okay? So think through a little bit about web content as you move through your notebook entries, as you move through your day. Think about the web content that you're noticing maybe on your phone, right? And think about who made that? How did they make that? What came up with that? Why am I the audience for this content? What makes me the audience? What are my characteristics that that I am on Instagram, that I am sort of being targeted for this particular message, right? Or this particular advertisement. What are the characteristics that make me a target audience, right? What is the message that's trying to be sent? So think about that. And then we will continue on. Okay.